I've always wanted to drive a fast car, but my Civic only makes 100 horsepower. So we're gonna take this slow turd and turn it into a turbo beast. Previously, we installed the intercooler, injectors, and as well as the downpipe, but unfortunately we're still missing so many things to get this project done. In this video, we're gonna get one step closer to turboing the Civic, but it's not gonna be easy.
Oh, no.
Stud is actually broken, so that is, Jesus Christ. This is the most ghetto I ever done. Well, we still need to install the charge pipe on the intercooler. As you can see, it's completely disconnected, and this side is, well, somewhat connected. So I went online and ordered a coupler for it. This should help with our fitment issues rather than trying to fabricate a new charge pipe or buy a different one and buy a different manifold. So I didn't want to deal with all that. Only the best made from China. After finishing the charge pipe assembly, it was time to finally put it on the car, but it didn't fit as I expected. The charge pipe is now assembled, but there is one big problem. The coupler that we bought is slightly too big for the turbo inlet, which is causing this to have a gap on the bottom. That is gonna create a problem and we will have no power at all, and having that leak is not good. So I went online and ordered a new coupler, came in a few days after, and was able to fix the problem. Got that 90-degree silicone coupler. This whole right side of the charge pipe is basically finished. We just need to tighten things up once we get this wastegate on. But before I put on the wastegate, I wanted to finish the other side of the charge pipe so that way we have a complete system to cool the turbo. This one can't fit because the problem is there is metal blocking it. Some Civics have it, some Civics don't. This Civic has it because I think before this guy was trying to do a shave engine bay, and because of that, that's why this hole is blocked off. This is a 3-inch hole saw that I got. The piping is only 2.5, so hopefully this should be enough. I'm just worried that if this is able to cut.
Oh, no.
Using the hole saw was pretty sketchy, so I decided to do another idea that would be a little bit safer. My plan was to penetrate the metal multiple times with a smaller drill bit, so that way it'll be easier to cut it off rather than using a hole saw. Hopefully the metal should be weak enough to use a hammer and just hopefully hammer this out. So RIP neighbors. This is the most ghetto I ever done. Well, yeah, done more ghetto. So if I keep doing this to each other hole, it should be able to mark this out. It will look really ghetto, but hopefully this should be able to file out, or I could use a grinder to kind of grind this all out. Cut it in a certain way, it won't look as ghetto. We just cut a hole in the chassis very ghetto-ly. Is that even gonna work? Probably not. Because I cut the metal in a jagged way, I use a hammer to even it out so that way it doesn't cut the intercooler piping. It is a little bit ghetto, but it does work. I just test fit this to see if it would line up, and it lines up just fine. Next, I painted the bare metal so that way it doesn't rust, and look at this result. That's pretty cool to see, ain't it? Even though we got the intercooler piping installed, I still had trouble trying to put on the wastegate. If you come down here, it does not fit just because this adapter, this bolt doesn't go all the way down. It doesn't even seat. It can't even seat all the way through because this band is in the way. For those who don't know, a wastegate regulates boost pressure. So we could run high or low amounts of boost in the turbo, but we can't regulate anything at all if we don't have one installed. Unfortunately, I had to set this part aside and work on something different. No, this cast manifold is a little bit heavier than stock for sure. So we're gonna take out these old studs and put in new ones because just to make sure nothing falls off. Make sure to like and subscribe. This is what keeps the videos going. If you don't do that, there will not be a final video where the Civic is finally done. All right. This thing is already cracked open, so if we kept this on, this thing would definitely leak. Someone previously, this stud is actually broken. So that is, Jesus Christ. Drill it out and re-thread this thing, which is gonna suck.
Ugh.
Because of this, I went to my local store to get a bolt extractor I never done anything like this in my life, so this is the first.
Come on. Come out.
You can see it's slowly coming out. It's finally out. I was a little nervous. Now that we fixed the head from the strip bolt, it's time to finally put in the new studs. But we can't do that until we remove the old ones. Every other stud I was able to take out, but yeah, this one is having trouble to take off. So every time I rotate this, it just spins the nut rather than the actual stud itself. So this thing is super fun there. Alright guys, I gave up. I can't take this out. I don't have a torch. I don't want to risk stripping this, so we're just going to leave it on here for now. Just trying to rub off the old stuff on the head before I put the new gasket on. Something like that. Brand new. Putting the new studs in was pretty easy, and we were able to move on the next thing, which is the oil feed. How are we going to close the hood? If we close the hood, it's going to hit this line and it's going to bend it, and obviously we're not going to have any oil after that. About a 90-degree oil line, and this is how it's going to look. So it's going to be 90 degrees. It's going to sit more flat. Voila! We got oil line. I'll probably get a clamp to clamp this down, but yeah. Now we gotta actually close the hood now. At this point, I need some wiring done, so I asked my friend for help so that way I could get my O2 sensor, wastegate, and boost controller set up. Since we're low on time, the only thing he was able to wire up was the O2 sensor and the new set of headlights. See if the lights work.
Lights turned on.
It works.
It turned on.
For the high beam. We need oil to make the turbo work, but we also need it to return back into the motor, and that's where this pan comes in. The reason why we need to put this oil pan is because it has literally a return line on. It just has a cap on it right now, but this will be our return line where oil will feed back into here and recycle all the oil in the engine. I went ahead and cleaned the oil pan, but there was an issue with it fitting, and because it was an aftermarket pan rather than the original, that was a problem. I'm gonna reuse this old oil pan. I just cleaned everything off, and we're just gonna put this on, put Loctite on it, and hope to God this nut doesn't come off, because that could be the end of the engine. But from what it seems like, these are pretty reliable for the most part on the internet, so we're gonna use this. We only have to drill, so no welding involved. After a little bit of drilling, finally was able to get this fitting inside. So now it's going to drain oil back into the pan, no problem. We're just going to need to fasten this. Probably going to put some Loctite on this just to be safe, and yeah, slap this pan back in. New gasket, and look at that. Took a while to put this bung on because I try to clean the pan as best as I can, but the bung is definitely on there. It ain't going nowhere. I tightened it, and not only that, I put Loctite on it, so hopefully it doesn't come out. You can see where that blue line is. That's where the gasket is mated up to the block in the pan. So it's completely on now, and as you can see, look at that. We are able to put our fitting on. That's where it exits. And there we go, that's our other fitting to return that. The only thing we need to do is actually put a line from the turbo all the way to the pan, but that won't be hard. Just kind of want to get you guys mocked up. In the last video, the fuel rail was loose, so in this video I repaired the rail from coming out. That way when it shoots fuel, it's not going everywhere. This that comes from stock, it's actually too short, so I bought bolts that are a little bit longer that should be able to hold this in. As you can see, it's fully fastened. The injectors are all in. If you guys want to see the Civic start up, make sure to smash the like button on this video, and I'll make it happen.